DS3 content in the year of our Lord 2023. What is this? I know what you're thinking. That I'm about to do DS3 apologia, but I'm not. Not yet, at least. Basically, Rendan, known DS3 enjoyer and Elden Ring player, has been putting out some DS3 content here and there, and it has inspired me to go back to it a little bit, and I've been having a blast, because I always have a blast with DS3. DS3 is a very intuitive game to, like, PvP in, because everything kind of makes sense. It could just be that I spent years playing it, that I have this technical knowledge that enables me to do it, but, like, you can't fight ganks in the Smoldering Lake or the Demon Ruins with pick and poker in Elden Ring. Now, can you? I can't fight 4 people in Elden Ring at the same time, and I especially can't co-invade 4 people with the creator of pick and poker, Felicificity. If you've never seen the original pick and poker video, I will link it in the description for you to go watch it, because you should go watch it right now. Turn off this video, go watch that video that's actually edited, and go to town. And then be sure to immediately come back to this video, because you'll see me use all of the principles from that video in this invasion. Or nearly all of them. Mostly just like the frame advantage stuff, especially when you trade, because if you trade with a light weapon, you are always plus, which means you can get out a S-Stock L2. I don't need to explain this. You go watch the video. Okay, welcome back. I've just been waiting here patiently for you to finish up with that. We are currently just kind of trying to take space and cover our co-invader, who is off trying to finish somebody. This co-invasion made me remember how important it was to, like, distract and, like, disrupt parties when you're doing co-invasions, because there's no way in hell you are going to successfully fend off 3 people for an extended period of time. But you can waste their time and make them spend action economy on you, and that's kind of important. Like, I see here that my co-invader is getting chased down, so I am going to come after them and try to prevent them from getting blendered, because that's the most dangerous thing that could happen. And we do successfully end up disturbing pretty much everyone here. I'm not going to pretend like this is the meanest, most prepared gank in the world either, because we do end up, like, one-shotting this guy with his 327 health. I'm going to call that one a skill issue. Level your health. Pick and poker is nice because the only thing it really struggles with are the more conventional meta setups, so, like, great swords. And really anything with enough poise to invalidate the S-Stock. But when that happens, I usually just end up two-handing the pick, and then you're good to go. Two-handed hammer poise damage is pretty good, and will usually get through the hyper armor of even a substantially poised greatsword user. And if you want to poise them back, you have your own L2, which is like a mini perseverance. It's good. It's very well rounded. It covers a lot of bases. You just have to be willing to change how you're applying the strategy, depending on what weapon your opponent is using, which is, like, not that big of a deal. It's significantly more technique than it is buildcraft. And to prove that, I am using raw weapons on my vigor and stamina build here. I've invested nothing more than the bare minimum stats to use the weapons that I'm using. And for that reason, I get a lot of room to make mistakes and, like, go for more risky plays. The trade-off is that my damage is not, like, super good. It's not bad, but it's not super good. If you can maximize survivability over damage, I feel like that's usually the way to go. And nowadays, I'm getting more into investing in endurance, because actionability is very important. I'm still of a mind that, like, you don't really have to invest in endurance unless you're doing something very specific, especially in DS3. In Elden Ring, it's different, because in Elden Ring, endurance is also, like, equip load, which is also poise, and poise is extremely important. I end up reinvading these guys alone again, or this was before that. I don't remember. This might have been prior to the previous invasion. In DS3, I'm looking to, like, play footsies and do neutral because, like, it's fun to do, and also you don't get punished as hard for, like, going for plays. Whereas in Elden Ring, if you mess up, like, a melee range mix-up against one person and then you have to roll away from another phantom, you might as well be dead. You just might as well be dead. But because of how, like, hitstun works in this game and how you'll get, like, ejected from hitstun, basically if you take more than 2 or 3 hits, you can roll out of dangerous situations more reliably, and your roll distance is a little longer. So you can go for more interesting plays, and you can afford to have worse damage because you are allowed to survive longer. Now, can you maximize for damage and make, like, glass cannon builds? Of course you can. You just have to sacrifice a lot to do it. The S-Stock poke is especially nuts on people with little to no roll poise. This person has just enough roll poise to get through 1 L2 from the S-Stock, but no more. I'm a little upset on my timing of this, but, like, that's just how DS3 is. When somebody takes their second hit, usually on the R1 to R1 true combo, they just get ejected from hitstun. They're invincible for, like, a huge chunk of time out of that. And you are able to... You're not as capable of capitalizing on hitstun situations like that because you already got what you came for. You know, you already got your damage, and now the other person... It's their turn to roll, even though it is still your fighting game turn. It's on you to figure out what their ultimate defensive option is going to be, and then punish that. You can't just running attack people. And then I had my meta candlestick build that I was fooling around with a little bit. I'm not as impressed by it as I used to be, probably because I'm starting to realize that it really does need, like, a lot of stamina, like 20 to 25, or even 30 endurance, just to get through, like, your combo string and be able to kill. But the problem is that those points have to come out of FP, which I guess I could probably do. I have to revisit and reevaluate the whole thing because it's just not enough. Like, it needs a little more something, and I think that something is just endurance so that you could keep swinging and casting. I've said this before, but Candlestick is not, like, especially stamina conservative. Like, it will just consume your whole bar in, like, 4 or 5 actions. It's kind of crazy. The thing I like to do now more often is L2 from the S-Stock into the cancel of the Candlestick to cast, and that frame advantage is usually enough to get a spell out to either trade with a follow-up or to just straight up punish a roll. The Candlestick of Vortex itself is very strong because it's a straight sword and it's a thrusting sword. How bad can they be? It's when the vortex ends and you have no stamina left and you're still pressuring and you're still plus that everything sort of falls apart. So ideally this thing has Chloranthy +3 and like 25 to 30 stamina. Ideally. And then we just try to stack as much damage boost as we possibly can onto this thing. I mean, Bellowing Dragon Crest is a must. Young Dragon, I always try to stack with it if I can. We had access to Tears, but I just forgot to cast it here or something. I don't know. I didn't end up needing it. I might either try to Talisman swap or put 3 more points into Faith so that we can use the Sacred Chime of Filianor more often to get that regen. Love regen. Regen is especially good in DS3. Would definitely take this build to the next level. Ideally, it has all of the trappings of meta, plus the extra stamina, plus the damage from the rings. And I would also like at least 5 spell slots. At least 5 spell slots. So that's 30 attunement, which is also crazy. It would be easier if I took it to like 138, or like whatever the Invader meta, 4 meta was at the end of things. But I'm looking for, like, activity, and I feel like if I stay at 120 or 125, then I'll reach down a little bit into the upper 100s. That's just how I think of it. Like, I'm not expecting meta activity to be particularly good on PS4 or 5. So I would like the chance to maybe catch people that are finishing the game through the DLC as other potential activity. And 125 really does tend to catch both of those categories, both people who are trying to host at meta and people who are just finishing the game. And I mean, Ring City is hard, so usually people will like summon friends to help them with it. So you'll still usually encounter a gank every now and again at meta. And to do that, I like to use the Candlestick build, because the Candlestick build to me is one of the most interesting ways to play, even if it does kind of suffer in the burst damage category and or requires you to have just multiple reads on somebody and how they play. If I really wanted to win, I could just take out the double pyro, and I could probably get a couple of combos off. That's just Black Flame, Black Flame, Black Serpent, Black Flame. But that's like all the same thing. I don't have to do that anymore. I did that already. Okay, this build is a sorcerer that I respect from the raw build. The raw build can be respect into this. It has Great Sword of Judgment. Great Sword of Judgment is great, does fantastic damage. The buff to the flat magic damage is crazy good for 40 plus 6. This is 40 plus 6, by the way. It uses the sorceries to control space, and it uses the Great Sword to Great Sword. It's a Great Sword. It can't be that bad. Although it is pretty bad when you are fighting somebody that's like on the other side of the planet, which is what we're doing here. When I say I can't catch this person, I mean like I can't time to catch this person, and I also I can't. They have the latency thing where there's like one vulnerable frame or something between rolls. Yeah, I don't get it. So anyway, it takes me just an eternity of like chasing this person down to accomplish anything. Eventually, I just get frustrated and try to plink them with 19 damage Great Farron darts, which was very disheartening. But because of how defense works in this game, you're not going to be doing a whole lot of damage if you're below a certain threshold. And then they disconnect. They disconnect, or like our connection was so bad that we just like DC'd from each other. That's more likely, honestly. I feel like they would have disconnected much earlier if they could have. That, or it just occurred to them. This is a 120. I don't know why it's 120. Don't ask me. Meta refined build. This is a quality build. No, it does not get much more damage than heavy or sharp would, but it is quality. And then with a little blessed weapon on top of it, you get a nice little bump of physical damage, which is what I'm using it for. And it really smooths things out. Also, it's just a very pretty buff, and it looks especially good on the Herald Sword. I don't know what it is. The Herald Sword is just very lovely in general, but with Blessed Weapon, it really takes it up another level. I am not afraid of this parry spamming person because they are bad at it. And I'm also very confident in my ability to time the swings to not get parried. I could also be dead angling more, but I'm really just like concentrated on establishing threat with this sword and making it known that like I will swing it. A large part of the Herald's game plan relies on people like being afraid of your weapon's reach and hyper armor, and if you can't establish that, then they're just going to walk all over you. Lots of random running attacks, lots of R1s, lots of delayed follow-ups. This Ash of War, to remind them that it exists, and they still didn't respect it. But I was, cognizant of their ability or inability to punish it, and we got out of there. Curved Greatswords in DS3 are really just like another experience. They feel weighty, they do a lot of damage, they have great running attacks. They're just fantastic weapons all around. Look at the reach and the distance on this running attack. Look at where I'm hitting. It's very smooth, and it hits right across your body in a straight line, in an arc. Very good for catching multiple opponents. And then a plus 10 simple parrying dagger, just in case, so that I can get a little FP regen to keep reapplying Blessed Weapon as liberally as possible. Anyway, that's all I care to share for now. Thank you for coming by and enjoying the video, and I hope you have an excellent day. Happy casting, happy invading, happy whatever it is you are doing. Take care, everyone.